I'm Bob. You're watching Analyst 47. Let's talk about what happens when companies stop needing workers. Yesterday, Jack Dorsey, co-founder of Twitter and CEO of Block, cut 40% of his company's workforce. Thousands of people gone. Not because the business is struggling. Block just posted billions in profits. And what did those layoffs do to their stock price? Surged 20% on the news. Dorsey's response, and I'll quote, "A significantly smaller team using the tools we're building can do more and do it better." Translation: AI replaces humans and the shareholders celebrate. But here's the outright terrifying part. Dorsey said, and again I'm quoting, "Within the next year, I believe the majority of companies will reach the same conclusion and make similar structural changes." Not some companies, not a few. The majority in 1 year. This isn't a prediction, it's a playbook. And when the guy who co-founded Twitter tells you what's coming, he's not guessing. He's telling you what he knows the other CEOs are already planning. So here's the real question. When half the workforce becomes economically unnecessary, what happens to them? Let me give you some context on that Dorsey announcement. September 2025, Block throws a company party, 3-day festival in Oakland. Jay-Z performs, Anderson .Paak, T-Pain, Soulja Boy, 8,000 employees flown in from around the world. Cost $68.1 million. Actually, let me be precise here. That's not a rough estimate. That's the exact figure from Block's earnings report. $68.1 million in general and administrative expenses. Now, I spent a couple hours verifying that number because it seemed almost cartoonish. Cross-referenced with financial analyst, and yeah, $68.1 million. That's roughly equivalent to the annual payroll of 200 of their employees. 5 months later, 4,000 jobs cut. But Dorsey's not alone. 2025 was an ugly year. 246,000 people lost their jobs in tech. That's not a statistic. That's the entire population of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Gone. 55,000 of those jobs, AI. Explicitly, companies said it out loud. Microsoft laid off thousands while announcing billions of dollars in AI investment. Amazon laid off thousands, the largest layoff in company history, all while expanding AI infrastructure. And then there's Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, who said recently, "We will need fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today." Not different jobs, fewer people. 2024, Swedish fintech company Klarna announced their AI chatbot was doing the work of 700 people. The AI handled 2.3 million customer conversations in the first month. 2/3 of all customer service chats. Once the execs saw that, headcount dropped by 40%. Over 2,000 people just gone. Projected profit increase, $40 million. Think about that. Over 2,000 human beings who had jobs, mortgages, families. When asked about it, the CEO told CBS News that the AI success and the employee layoffs were two totally separate things that have been conflated. Right. If Klarna can replace 2,000 people overnight, what's stopping every other company from trying? Answer: nothing. Let's look at what's actually happening. AI doesn't eliminate work. It eliminates bargaining power. When labor is scarce, workers have leverage. When labor is replaceable, capital wins. That's economics 101. Every economic system in history has been constrained by one thing. You can't run a factory, staff a call center, or process claims without people. That dependency kept the system balanced. Workers could withhold labor, strike, demand higher wages. AI removes that constraint. Now, look at who benefits. The companies laying off people aren't struggling. They're profitable. Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Block, record revenues, soaring stock prices. They're not cutting costs to survive. They're cutting costs to consolidate. Because here's the math. An employee quits, unionizes, costs money every year, might even demand more. An AI model, you buy it once, you own it. It scales without negotiation. No sick days, no raises, no complaints to HR. And the companies building AI aren't just using it themselves, they're selling it. If you want to automate customer service, you license their models. If you want AI-assisted coding, you pay their subscription. It's a feedback loop. Fewer employees, more profit, more AI investment, more companies adopt that AI, more workers displaced, more wealth to the elite. Round and round we go. Now here's the part nobody's saying out loud. When half the workforce becomes redundant, and that's what the CEOs are predicting, you don't just have an economic problem, you have a political problem. Millions of people with no jobs, no prospects, no pathway back into the economy. What do you do with them? That's not a rhetorical question, because the answer to that question determines what comes next. So here are 3 ways this plays out. Let's start with the plausible case. This has all happened before. Farm mechanization, factory automation, computers eliminating secretarial pools. Yes, jobs disappear, but new jobs emerge. Someone has to build the AI, train the models, maintain the systems, regulate the output. We're in that transition pain, but we'll adapt, yada, yada, yada. And there's evidence for this. Even as tech companies cut workers, they're hiring in AI-related fields. The skills needed are changing. People will retrain. The economy will adjust. This is just Industrial Revolution 3.0. Yeah, this is possible. But there's one critical difference. Previous revolutions automated muscle. This one automates brain power. And the jobs disappearing, they're not just any jobs. They are the latter. Entry-level positions, junior roles, the pathways into the middle class, legal research, first-year coding, financial analysis, customer service. Those were how you got in. And if those jobs are automated, where do senior people come from in 10 years? But let's assume the optimists are right. Let's assume new jobs emerge and somehow these benevolent corporations will find a place for all of the expensive senior workers in the year to come. Oh, don't worry, I'm sure the elite will figure it out. Now let's look at what happens if they're wrong. The more realistic and probable scenario. AI doesn't replace everyone. It replaces the jobs that created economic mobility. And without those entry points, there's no ladder. You graduate, there's no junior position. AI does that work. You're supposed to learn on the job, but there's no job to learn in. The elite still needs some highly skilled humans, but not many. And if you're not already in, how do you get in? If there's no ladder, there's no way up. Which is kind of the point, actually. So who wins? The companies building the AI platforms, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon. They're not just deploying this technology. They're creating the infrastructure everyone else will rent. They own the models, the compute, the platforms. Every company that adopts AI to cut workers, they're paying these companies for the privilege. It's beautiful, really, if you're a shareholder. And the institutional investors, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, sovereign wealth funds, they don't care which company wins. They own significant stakes in all of them. As long as capital returns accelerate and labor costs decline, they profit. They don't need a billion customers if margins are high enough. They need a smaller, wealthier customer base, so the wealth concentrates. The companies that own the AI infrastructure capture the productivity gains. The funds that own the capital see returns explode. And the people who used to do the work, you and me, yeah, we're now economic surplus. That's when governments start talking about UBI, or Universal Basic Income. Not because they're generous, I think we've already seen how that works, but because they have millions of people with no economic function and no way to create one. UBI isn't a safety net, it's a management system. You get enough to survive, enough to consume, barely, enough to stay kind of stable, but not enough to build anything. And here's what nobody discusses. If you're on UBI, you're on a government platform. Digital ID, transaction monitoring, spending tracked. And if you cause problems, they don't arrest you, they just adjust your payment. When you ask, how do you control a population with no economic leverage? This is how. You don't need force. You just need the control mechanisms in place. Now, the wild take. AI plus robotics plus automation reduce labor dependence drastically. Production, automated. Distribution, automated. Security, increasingly automated. Finance, already algorithmic. The elite class no longer needs mass employment to sustain itself. So what do you do with a population that is economically unnecessary but politically volatile? Throughout history, the social contract worked like this. You trade labor for income. Income gives you purchasing power. Purchasing power sustains the system. But if the system doesn't need your labor, what's the contract? Trick question, there isn't one. You can't let millions starve, that creates instability. But you can't give them enough resources to challenge the system either. So you manage them. The tech giants build the systems. Predictive analytics model the unrest before it forms. Social media algorithms that shape what people see, believe, and care about. Transaction monitoring that flags unusual behavior. Meanwhile, central banks are piloting universal basic income. Governments are rolling out digital IDs and programmable currencies. The World Economic Forum publishes frameworks on the future of work. They're not responding to current problems, they're preparing for what's coming because they've run the same scenarios we're running. And when half the workforce is redundant, you don't get revolution, you get a management problem. Oh, and maybe a revolution if all those dopamine drips get cut off and the distractions quit working. The solution isn't oppression, it's friction. Make it harder to organize, harder to move, harder to access resources if you're flagged. Digital IDs control access to banking, services, employment. Algorithmic systems predict and contain unrest, and most people won't notice. Because the system will be so good at predicting what keeps people pacified that it will give them exactly that: entertainment, distraction, just enough comfort, bread and circuses. You can't revolt against a system that anticipates you. So the most powerful elites in history may be emerging, not because they hate you, but because they don't need you. And once they don't need you, your leverage is gone. Your vote, they can model it. Your protest, they can contain it. Your labor, they can automate it. When a population is no longer economically essential, it becomes a stability variable. Not citizens, not workers, a variable to be managed. Good luck negotiating with that. Look, I know how that final scenario sounds. I know that sounds like full tinfoil hat territory. Trust me, I'm aware. But scenario analysis means modeling uncomfortable possibilities. Not because they're definitely true, but because if they are true and you haven't thought through them, you're flying blind. So which scenario is it? Thousands of jobs cut. Jack Dorsey says most companies will make similar cuts within a year. Billions flowing into AI infrastructure. And at the same time, central banks piloting digital currencies, governments building digital ID systems, policy frameworks on managing displaced populations. Maybe that's preparation. Or maybe the people running these scenarios already know which one we're in. For all of history, power needed people. When power stops needing people, people no longer have leverage. And when you don't have leverage, you can't negotiate. You get managed. All right, what did I miss? A lot of you have backgrounds in tech, economics, policy. You see patterns I might miss. So tell me what I got wrong in the comments. Is your job safe? I'm Bob. You're watching Analyst 47. If this made you uncomfortable, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see where this goes. If you want to see more of what the elites at the top are planning, watch this episode.